Test, test, test. Hello. Okay. Thank you very much. Elvis left the building. Oh, they're giving me a. I see. I see. YouTube. Or no, I'm not connected. No, no. I think they were gonna just do the slides. I thought. Yeah. For this time. Oh. Oh, okay. No, no. I just pulled it up so I can look without looking backwards if I want to. Yeah, I sent it to your email just a second or earlier, but should be this. Impossible. Able to find it. I'm sorry, I thought you were. Oh, no problem. The second one, yeah, I'll pull it up. Yeah, this will be. This one should be good enough to. Sure.
You're gonna have to put the
Yeah, and I can just. Are you good to go? Okay. Hi, I'm Nelson Green, mentor for 1108. Today I'm teaching best battery practices for FRC. All of our robots run on batteries, and so we want to make sure that they're always running. You can go to second. So our team goals for batteries are always to have 0 matches that are determined by a bad battery, a disconnected battery. So that means that every match you have to be prepared with a good battery to go and to have it securely in your robot, and then to have the secondary goal would be to have the best batteries you can have. So not just like a pretty good battery, but one that's uh, some of the matches, especially like 2 years ago, you would in the match just kind of on the teetering edge of running out of enough juice to keep the battery or the robot going. So picking a really good battery ensures that you're going to have a really good match, hopefully, and require just a minimal maintenance throughout the year. So you don't want to start and have to go, oh, is it loose? Check all your connections all the time. That once you've done it, that you're going to be pretty good. So here's just some resources that I've used over the last few years for our batteries. 900 battery upgrade guides. They've put out 2, and probably will put out a third, or other people will put out some point. Chief Delphi has a lot of links for whether you want to use bigger wiring, crimping, load testing, battery logging, and then the first stocks now have a full battery, basic battery thing that you can go through that has a lot of good information. So I just wanted to share that first. Okay, so this is my slide of prioritizing why I think robots brown out, and there's different levels. So if you want to be like the highest performance, you probably try to check off each of these levels. If you want to just make sure that you're going to have good batteries every match, if you can get pretty far down the list, you're going to do well. And the first one is just loose terminals. So if any of your terminals between your battery and your power distribution are loose, that you're going to have intermittent brownouts. You're going to have problems. Low battery charge. If you put a battery that's not that has a high resistance, that has a bad cell, that you forgot to charge, you put it on, it had 80% charge, and you're going to run into problems. Not using motor current limits. So a lot of these motors can draw 80 amps or 100 amps or them. So if you're running all your motors at that kind of amperage, you're going to run out of battery capacity. Other reasons, we've seen batteries on the field, or a lot of us that's been in a long time, so I think batteries that weren't strapped down right, or batteries that the connection came loose. It's always going to happen at the worst time for you guys. Excessive mechanism port. This is less so if you're, you may have to pay attention to if you're using 2 mechanisms at once, people start to think that. Electrical faults. This is making sure that all your connections are covered and things like that. And then people talk sometimes about the wire gauge that you use from the battery, whether it should be 6 gauge or 4 gauge, or people use 2, or I guess in some places. But this is kind of, as you're going to performance, at the high end, you're eking out a lot of that. You need to cover those bases first. If you're looking for more performance, you start to look at some of these other issues. So go ahead. So loose terminals. There's not too many terminals, but if you have 4 to 8 batteries, you're going to have to make sure that each battery is well made. You have 2 terminals. That's the PDP, but you can, whichever power distribution, there's usually some connection. Not having to do this is actually makes it a lot easier, having to just use the Wagos or something. And then your terminals for your breaker, your main breaker. So and okay, we can go on. So here's kind of our story of, so in 2019, we were using whatever terminals came with the or whichever connectors came with the battery, mostly the 6 gauge wiring. Sometimes they weren't well put together. The heat shrink wasn't right. Sometimes people would just tape up here, and the let's say the screws that came with the batteries were really hard to get tight, so the terminals would loosen up over the year. And so slowly, we in 2022 we started going to larger gauge wire, but the biggest difference we made is to try to get really tight terminals using wedge lock washers. Uh, here's some wedge lock washers, and I'll show them later. But and we've kind of continued this path. There's things that we could do if we wanted to. We use the SB50s still. Some teams have went to the larger um, connectors, and I'll tell you why. But and then 2026, we still have questions whether we'll stick with 4-gauge wire, whether we'll continue to use wedge locks. There's also other options there, and so I guess we can go on. So wedge locks washers are what they sound like. They're actually a wedge, and you can see that as you tighten a nut down to them, that it engages the wedge, so that in order for the nut to come off, it has to go back uphill. And so that keeps your terminals really tight. But the other thing over here, 70 inch-pound torque for your terminals is the torque rating that you want to try for. So this is a terminal that's connected with a wedge lock on each side and a lock nut. And so when we do we use a torque wrench set at 70 inch-pounds, and we go down until it clicks, and that makes sure that this terminal is going to stay tight and not loosen up over time. So that's been a really big change. One I'd recommend some sort of thing like this. You can go to the next slide. There's also these grasshopper nuts. Thrifty Bots and sells them. They're another way of increasing the surface between the terminal and making sure that it's not going to move. They're another good. We haven't tried them too much, but because we're happy with this, but it's something to look into if you want to. Go on. So in the battery upgrade document, they actually go to the I think it's 4 or 2-gauge wire, and they go in the most recent one, and also go to the SB50s. We had to think about that. Our biggest issue with going that is, one, if you use a different connector, that you're going to have to do it for your chargers. If you want to loan the battery, you can't really, other than if you have an adapter. And also the cost goes up quite a bit with the SB120s. So cost per battery for at that time was about $50 added to your battery cost. So if you're spending $45 on the battery, you're going to spend not like $95 a battery. I'll go to the next one. So we our batteries probably are around $20, $25 a battery using the SB50s. That includes the wedge lock washers, using 4-gauge wire, using a good heat shrink that's a 3-to-1 reduction in size. For a few years, we had trouble finding the right heat sink. We'd go up and we'd maybe use like 3/4 that was a 2-to-1, or we'd use, but we found out that 5/8 is a size that works really well for us, and with a 3-to-1 reduction in size. And so finding all this stuff makes your batteries like look nicer and be better. Anyway, there's more things that you can do. We don't do everything on this list, but first is your terminals, your hardwares, how to make sure it's connected, the heat shrink. Some teams will use edge clips that kind of hold it in, and use like a 90-degree flag instead of a straight terminal. We haven't tried that, but it looks nice. Handles. The first thing you teach somebody that's going to help you with batteries is not to carry it by the wires, because you'll eventually cause problems with the terminals. Um, and so some teams have 3D printed handles, uh, labels and shapes. I mean, first thing, the easiest thing, and so sometimes we do like is just make sure you have the year on it, have some sort of, this one Scuba Sam is the name of it, so you give it a name, give it something. If you want to add some labels that has the year, name, uh, sometimes you might add, like if you did load testing to start, or capacity testing, like what that is. And then uh, usually we'll try to mark, like if we have a practice battery or only use this battery for testing, that you'll add that onto the battery itself. Okay. So crimping, this Harbor Freight hydraulic crimper is one that a lot of teams have used. We've had this guy forever, so we get to. You have to make sure that when you're using it, that you are paying attention to how you're crimping. We like to put 2 spots on our crimps, and also this one's kind of unwieldy to use. I think that one's a little easier to use. This one, like you have to, it takes a lot of pressure to crimp a battery terminal, and so you have to like push it on the table and get it to the, which is kind of a pain sometimes, but Nick over here's crimp batteries a lot, so he's pretty good at that. So different brands or different qualities. If you need recommendations of where to buy, we've been buying the MK batteries from their St. Louis warehouse for the last 3 years, I think. Other people go to Batteries Plus for like Duracells. We had Powersonics. I think they're a little lower on the list, and but you can get a lot of recommendations on which batteries. But I'd recommend probably the first 2 if you can get a hold of them. And then, yeah, you'll see right away. I think one year we had old battery come from. Well, it was from the first kit. The first kit gave us old batteries out of the warehouse. Yeah. So anyway, this is you can keep track of your batteries in a lot of ways, but and I'll skip out of that for now. So this is kind of just a short life cycle of our. So you get a new battery, breaking in, maybe light load and with practice is what's suggested. Just maybe so don't show up to the competition with a brand new battery. Maybe run it through like some light practice first, just to get to the highest capacity you can. And then I haven't got to load testing, but so on the battery beaks, so this is a battery beak, and so before every match we have somebody testing. And Shelby, do you want to come up and test in a second? But it will tell you the internal resistance of the battery, which includes everything from the battery to your terminals to the connector. And for our competition batteries, usually it's between 13 and 19 milliohms. And it's suggested that like you'll get maybe 100 discharges through a battery before it starts to get out of this range. That's the paper there. If you need to, oh, go back. You can. Go back. So we keep a separate set of competition batteries usually. So we use last year's batteries more for practice, or maybe 2 years ago, depending on. Usually we'll get 2 or 3 years out of a battery, maybe 4 if we're really pushing it. Practice testing, once it gets above like 0.2 milliohms, that it's usually going into like practice and for just running your prototyping or things like that. So you can periodically run load testing to understand your capacity. And then when it gets to be too bad, you probably need to just find somewhere to recycle it. So this is the computerized battery analyzer, and some teams use it. I think it's not one that we've used because it's kind of $220, and we just haven't bought one. But they find out that they can run a load test, and if it holds, if it's above 12 amp hours, it's good. But these batteries are supposed to be like 18 amp hour capacity, but when they run the load test, how they get that this is one of the what one team found out. So you can skip. So the battery beak is a load test that runs two internal what did I say? It runs small loads to figure out the internal resistance of the battery, and these are like $99 or so, and they're really easy to use. I'm gonna have Shelby use the battery tester. She's never done this before, so any of you guys that haven't done this, you can do that. You just put it on the battery, and then you push the button a couple times. Okay, oh sorry. And so you can see what's the internal resistance. Stay closer. That on the very bottom.
Oh, 0.15.
Yeah, 0.015 on this one, and it will tell you up here. So you'll see where it tells you how much it's charged. What does it say? It says 110%. So this will max out at 130%. Somebody's done some testing on it recently to try to show what that 130% actually means. Can you have 130% battery? Not really, but it's just how this tester comes up. So a fully charged battery usually will read 130, and that's really easy. I'd run this after every match. I'd run it probably sometimes when batteries come back after matches, especially if you noticed anything going bad. And so that was that one. We just got, oh, sorry, 1 second. We just started with trying to learn how to use this battery load tester. So this is like your automotive battery tester. You can get them for like 25 bucks or so. And now you have to be careful. When it runs the 100 amp test, it'll get really hot. So don't touch anywhere from here to here. As a point of safety. And it's really easy to, I'll let Shelby run a load test on this one. And when you run a load test on it, that so you plug it in, and you can, on ours we put the SB50, so you can just plug it in, and then when it comes on, it will show with no load, it's a little over 13 volts, and then there's a switch here, and when you run around the test, you have to hold the switch, and most say for around 3 seconds, or in order to let it come to another level. After this, I'll show. We'll do this real quick. So hold it for 3 seconds, and then see what the voltage reads. It's like, yeah. It was like 10.6, 10.7, which I'll go ahead and go to the next slide. So here's some different batteries that we ran. The top is the battery beak, and the bottom is the load tester. All of them are, well, only this one's kind of in that practice range of 0.024. You can see that where the other ones kind of are in that 10.6, 10.8 volt range at the 100 amp testing. This one's a little closer to 10, um, and you could kind of verify some of this stuff through capacity testing and stuff like that. But one of the teams I think suggested that if their batteries are lower than 10 on this test, that they then they don't use that battery in the match or something like that. So anyway, I wanted to. So I think that, yeah, that's what it said. This person used 10.5 in volts, so they wanted higher ones, but that's similar. That was SWAT's. Wooly helped write some of this presentation. Let's see. So here's one of our old battery chargers. We still use it. It's a 6 amp charger. So it's good to have 6 amp chargers for competition. And then if you want to run different charging, like once you want to maintain charge and things, but mostly we keep batteries we're going to use on the chargers that all of them run above 12 volts. Let's see, there's a lot of. One thing we're trying to work on is adding displays to all the chargers. And one thing that's interesting is it has a little current sensing part of the display, so that you can actually watch like how much current's going in the battery, and if it as it goes down to 0, you can know how it's going. I guess we'll go next. Yeah, so this is our little display. We've just started doing it, but we're trying to add it. And so at this point it's charging. At that point it's finished charging, and so that's helpful. Anyway, yeah, we can go. This is something interesting that's came out. This is a battery fuel gauge that Playing with Fusion's released in the last month, and it's pretty expensive. It's pretty at $80 a battery, but it can connect to the cam and give you capacity information on your robot, and it does use the SB120 as the bigger connector, so that's a challenge for some. And the other challenge is having to reconnect CAN before each match if you wanted to get the information while you're on your robot. But it's something, I won't talk too much about it, but if you want to look into something like that, that's mostly for teams that really want a lot of information. But, what to do with? Oh yeah, old batteries. I don't know if they'll still give you money for core charges and stuff like that for the batteries, but they used to. But you can run your tools on and stuff like that if you need to, or some other things. But let's go on. So we talked a little bit about the 4 versus 6 gauge. This was some calculation we did where 18 inches of battery wire at a 4 gauge would give like a voltage drop of about 0.15 volts, and 6 gauge would give about 0.23. So the savings that you get running the lower or the bigger wire is about a little over 0.1 volts. So it's 0.1 to point, yeah. So it's not a huge savings. However, if you're in a pushing match or something and you have just a little bit more battery to give your motors or something at the end of a match, that's where you kind of get into trying to outperform other folks. So that's why you see people kind of move towards 4 gauge, but 6 gauge you'll run just as well as long as you're taking care of all your batteries and everything. So, yeah, so that's just managing your current. You don't so you want to keep above the 7 volts or so, where you start to have Roborio brownout. let's see, I guess it says max supply is 400 amps. That's probably more like 250 to 300 amps. You can see, I've seen over 250 in that range in our logs before. Um, Setting your current limits. I think a lot of the motors will recommend which current limits to use, and then you can also do different tests to figure that out too. I think I put 40 to 60, but I think the Vortex are 80. Yeah, you have a question? The Stator, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Read more into current limit for each motor to figure exactly what you need to set. But it's yeah. Anyway, securing your battery. Uh, this is how we secured our battery this year. We have a battery kind of outline and then some Velcro. You want it to be pretty snug. And here we have our connector. We have a little 3D print, and if you want to add a zip tie to hold that and make sure it's not going to pop loose. Anyway, and I guess we can go to there. So so this is your like a log file, and this is a good way to see what you're during the match, what your battery voltages were like. This is one of the Cowtown matches. So I think we were above 8 volts pretty much the whole time, which is where we want to be. And then, yeah. So if you notice any stuttering of your robot, you may want to check logs and look at this. And if you're having kind of intermittent issues you don't really know, that you can do the wiggle test while you're watching voltage and things like that. I'll go on it. This was it's kind of hard to see. This is DS Log Viewer is kind of an interesting log viewer where you can take like an event for. So this is one event, and this shows the battery voltage, and this shows the PDP current or something like this. That so you can go and you can look. This is these are each match, and so you can see like, especially if you keep a log of which batteries you use each match, you can go back and like double check and see like, well, was this battery performing badly and everything. So um, actually, and so in conclusion, no loose terminals, only batteries with good charges, use current limits, secure your battery, watch for excessive draws. You can go through log individually for different motors. Protect your wires, and then size your wires to your performance goals or needs. So, does anybody have any questions or anything they want to ask? Oh, Nick wanted this question. Well, right now they pile up until our other mentor takes them, but that's okay. Uh, we he does batteries for his profession, telecom batteries. So and so he'll take them to the recycler himself. But Batteries Plus will take them. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of options, so you can just don't throw them into the ocean or something, or whatever you want to do. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, for like a capacity for like, I think right now it's still probably that this computerized one. Um, I need to get Nick to tell me. Sometimes he'll come in about once a year and test our batteries too. I should have put that. Yep.
I was going to say that one thing you can do is get maybe a better reading of the battery, or not do a hot loop to the cold loop. So if you pull them right up the charge from the beacon, every battery, oh, I'm good. So let's say for half an hour you plug in. Then you get a good reading. Having a certain charge.
Yeah, the last I heard was about 10-minute wait. It gives you a better consistency on it, but there's actually quite a few. The threads on Chief Delphi get pretty interesting on that. So, well, if there's no more questions, thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day on the classes. No more questions. Oh no. Put my battery stuff away. It's not hot. The capacity testing. I forgot to show my swaging tool. Do you? Battery. Yeah, this is. Craig's got to get this all figured out. But it's handy for sure. Oh no. Put that away. And you can put this can go on the robot.
Robot.
Is this your battery guy this year?
He's a new student. So
He's new student?
to learn all about it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very important. If you